Hello, I'm Ramona Werst, and from my Real Texas kitchen today, I will be preparing a Real Texas crawfish étouffée. Now, I know this is normally a Cajun or Louisiana dish, and you know what the heck, Louisiana is just Far East Texas, right? What we're doing is we're going to add just a little twist, and I'm going to add jalapenos, you guessed it, to make it a Real Texas dish. Now, it doesn't change the flavor a whole lot because you've got the spiciness from your Cajun spices, but it'll add just a little Texas kick to the recipe. The first part is the most important part. This is going to be the base of your entire recipe, and that is cooking the live crawfish. We're going to start off with our fresh peppercorns, our coriander seeds, our allspice, and our whole cloves. And we're going to put this in a grinder. We're just going to go ahead and grind it. This is what it looks like once it's ground. We're going to add our dill weed, our dry mustard, our oregano, dried thyme, onion powder, smoked paprika, cayenne pepper, plenty of cayenne pepper, and these are crushed bay leaves. We're just going to go ahead and put those in there, and our kosher salt. Now remember I said we're not going to put too much in, but you've got over 2.5 gallons of water, so you want to make sure you do have it salty enough just to add some flavor. I've also cut in half my lemons and my jalapenos. I've taken the tops and the bottoms off, left the seeds in, and cut those up. We're going to be placing that in the water too. Since we're doing this outside, it does not smell pleasant when you're cooking crawfish on your stove in the kitchen. The smell is terrible through the house. So we have a burner outside and a big stainless steel kettle that we boil all of our crawfish in. You can also then boil a good 10 pounds all in one batch. So we're going to go ahead and take this downstairs and get our crawfish ready. Okay, the time has come. And we've got our hot tub for our crawfish all prepared now. And the water is boiling. I'm going to go ahead and add our spices. Stir that around. Add our lemon and jalapenos. Now we're going to cook this probably for about 2 to 3 minutes just so we can start getting all the flavors fusing together. And then we're going to go ahead and introduce our crawfish into the boiling water. These are beautiful crawfish. They're from Louisiana, and we purchased them at Groomer Seafood in San Antonio. Now, the reason they're special crawfish is these actually have been purged, which means they've been washed several times, so they're not carrying the mud with them when you cook them. So they're already clean and ready to go. Now, we've had these guys in the refrigerator, so they're a little bit slow moving right now. We have all of our crawfish put in the water, as you can see. We're going to probably cook them anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes once the water starts boiling again. And what we're wanting them to do is turn a real bright red color. So we're going to go ahead and let this water come back to a boil, time it, and I'll show you what they look like once they're cooked. Our crawfish are cooked, and as you can tell now, they have turned bright red. And that's the sure sign that they're cooked. You don't want to overcook them, because if you've ever had an overcooked shrimp, you know how it kind of is really dry. It's not rubbery anymore. It's just kind of dry, and it just has a really yucky taste in your mouth. Well, that's what happens to crawfish if you overcook them. So you're looking for them to turn a bright red color, and then you know they're done. What we're going to do is actually take these upstairs back to the kitchen and let them cool off. If we were actually eating these crawfish at an outing, we wouldn't be cooling them off. We'd be taking them out from the pot, throwing them on the table, and you'd be eating them right then and there. But these are for my étouffée, so I'm going to cool them off, and I'll show you the proper way of getting the tail meat out of the crawfish. The crawfish have cooled down so we can handle them now. And the way you properly peel a crawfish is you take the crawfish in your hand and you pinch right behind its body where its tail is, and you kind of wiggle it so that the tail meat comes out. Then you pinch the end of the tail and very carefully just wiggle, wiggle, and the whole tail will come out just like that. Now this amount of crawfish isn't going to make a whole lot of tails, but we have another batch that is in the cooker right now, so I probably am doing about 10 to 15 pounds, and it'll give me maybe about 5 pounds of tails. I've got some work ahead of me. Now David always says this is the beer drinking time. Well, I have a story to tell you. Last year he was drinking while he was doing this, and we had the live crawdads sitting on my table. 2 of them jumped off, went into my basil greenhouse and dug holes, so we had little crawfish holes. So that was the last time I let him sit there and drink before he gets to this part. So I've got my work cut out for me. Now this one, look at this big claw. If you were actually wanting to be eating these guys, all you do is you just pinch off the claw, remove this claw here, and you've got some meat there. And then you would just break that, and then there's the rest of the meat right there. Now some people, if you're really into eating crawfish, what they'll do is they'll actually take the whole body and you suck out the insides. I haven't gotten to that part yet. What I like to do is just use the tail meat, and that's the best and the sweetest part for my crawfish étouffée. We're ready to go ahead and cook down the crawfish to make our crawfish stock. But we do need to visit the greenhouse and get some fresh herbs. Now I have bay leaves here, and as you can see my bay leaf tree right here. What I've done is I've taken some bay leaves, and it takes a couple of days to dry them before you use them. I've got my bay leaves, and then we're going to take some fresh oregano, and I've got my oregano plant over here. I've got fresh basil, and of course this is Ramona's basil garden, so of course I've got fresh basil, and it's all over here. And I've got fresh thyme, and it's growing right here. It's so cool to have your own herb garden growing because you can just do so many things. Whenever I want fresh herbs, all I have to do is come out to my greenhouse and get them. Now I am going to put some black peppercorn in here. And what I'm using actually is just gauze, and it's the unmedicated gauze. I've got 2 4x4 squares. I'm going to just wrap that up. You can use cheesecloth, but it's just so much less expensive to do it this route. And then I'm just going to tie this in a knot, and there we have our spices. I have brought my water to boil with my crawfish in it. Now this is the crawfish bodies and the empty tails, and I did get a lot of good tail meat. So you'll bring your water, and now we also are using fresh water. I'm not sure if I led you to believe yesterday that I was going to be using the crawfish water that I boiled them in. But the reason you don't want to overly spice that water is because your spices are going to be retained in your crawfish. So if you were doing a crawfish bake, of course, you'd want to have them spicy because you're going to be eating them. We're going to have several spices that we're adding to our crawfish étouffée, so I lightened up the stock. Now, to make the stock, you want to start with fresh water, get rid of all those other spices. Here again, I've chopped up my onion, celery, and carrots. I'm going to add that in. And then I'm going to throw in my spice package. We're going to stir that around. And now we're going to cook this for a couple hours. We've got about 3 gallons of water here. We're going to take it all the way down, probably to just under 1 gallon. And that's going to make a rich, deep stock. Now we will be straining this, so we're going to be getting rid of all of our vegetables and of course our shells. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this back to a boil and let it continue to cook. We're one step closer to our crawfish étouffée. This is the crawfish stock, and as you can see, there's nothing in it. We've strained it, and it is cloudy. It does not smell fishy at all, which is really surprising, but it doesn't smell fishy. I suggest cooking it outside versus boiling it inside because, of course, while you're cooking down those crawfish, it is really smelling fishy. But the end stock is not fishy at all. So, we're ready to get started on our crawfish étouffée. Wow, this was a lot of work, but as you can tell, I've got my crawfish tails, and look at how big and nice these tails are. It's probably about 5 pounds worth of crawfish tails, which is going to make wonderful crawfish étouffée. Now that that task is done, I'm going to put them in the refrigerator. We want to keep them cold until we're ready to use them. We have already boiled our crawfish. We've already made our crawfish stock, and we've already taken out all of the crawfish meat from the tails. So we are ready to make this delicious crawfish étouffée. We're going to start first by getting our spices together. I'm going to add our salt, pepper, white pepper, thyme, basil, and cayenne pepper. We're going to just mix this around a little bit and then set it aside. This is the secret stuff that goes in making this a wonderful tasting dish. We're also going to get our vegetables ready. I've got my onion. It looks like a lot. I've doubled the recipe that I'm posting online because we have special guests coming to dinner tonight, and I want to make sure I have plenty. Plus, it's so great you can freeze it, save it, and then just pull it out and eat it whenever you want to. We've added our sweet onion, our bell pepper, our celery, and our Texas secret ingredient, jalapenos. We're just going to stir this up and set it aside. And now we're going to go ahead and go to the stove and make the first component, which is the roux. As you can see, my pot is smoking. Using a metal whisk, we're going to add our flour and continually stir. This will take about 3 to 5 minutes to get our roux to a red or dark brown. You want to continually stir because this is so important. You do not want to burn or scorch your roux. You don't want a burnt flavor in your crawfish étouffée. So you're going to keep stirring this. And as you can see, it takes a lot of work, and it's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes of continually stirring and stirring. We're turning the heat off, and as you can see, our roux is getting ready to scorch. You want to make sure you stir it, and you want to put your vegetables in very quickly, and then use your wooden spoon and start stirring them. You're going to take this off the heat now, and you're going to continue stirring because you don't want it to scorch or burn. You're going to continue to stir for about 5 minutes until it's cooled down again. So you're going to have to sit here and just keep stirring and stirring, and you'll hear the sizzle. Well, when you stop hearing that sizzle, then you know it's cooled down. So I'm going to continue to stir this, and I'll be right back. Once you've added your vegetables in and you've got it a little bit under control, you're going to add about a spoonful of your seasoning mix, and then continue to stir until it's all mixed together and it's cooled down. Our roux mixture is cooled down, so we put it back on the heat. We've also heated our crawfish stock, and we're going to slowly add it in just a little at a time and then stir it in. We want to make sure that the roux gets totally dissolved into our crawfish stock. We've melted our first round of butter. Now don't get scared of the amount of butter because remember I told you that we're actually doubling this recipe, but it still does take a lot of butter. We're adding our scallions. We're just going to saute these for about 1 minute. After sauteing our green onions and the first round of butter, we're going to add that to our roux mixture. Now we're going to add our beautiful crawfish tails. Whenever you're doubling a recipe, you need to make sure that your pot can handle what you're cooking. So we had to do a little station break here so we could change pots. I've stirred in my crawfish. I'm adding my second round of butter, also my extra crawfish stock. We're now going to stir this until the new butter all melts. You don't want to add the rest of your seasoning in yet. We're going to let the butter melt. We finally, with the proper pot, have our crawfish étouffée simmering, and now we're going to add the rest of all of our spices. You'll want to simmer this probably for at least a good hour. What we're trying to do is not have a floury tasting crawfish étouffée, and we really want those seasonings to infuse with our crawfish. So I'm going to go ahead and as soon as it comes to a simmering boil, be turning it down to a low just to keep a little bit of a bubble breaking on top. I also have my steamed white rice in the rice cooker, and so as soon as this is ready, I'll show you what it looks like. Now you'll notice one difference than possibly your restaurant crawfish étouffée is. If you'll come in closer and notice, one of the big differences from your crawfish étouffée that you'll receive in restaurants to our recipe here is, see all these big crawfish tails? Well, we actually get our crawfish from Groomer Seafood in San Antonio, and they get them directly from Louisiana. So you know that these are really big and delicious crawfish. But you can add as few or as many as you like, but it's always better to have too many crawfish tails than not enough. Our crawfish étouffée is now ready to be served. Doesn't that look yummy? Look at that, all that crawfish. And I've steamed my rice, and I'm using just a little bowl here. And all you do is you just stuff your rice in there, pack it in really tight because you want it to be able to stand up. And then after you do that, you just dump it in your bowl. And then with your ladle, you take some of your crawfish étouffée. And there you have it. I'm Ramona Werst, and from my Real Texas kitchen, this is my Real Texas crawfish étouffée.